Now that you have a basic understanding of the layout or structure of the HTML page, let's go ahead and start diving a little bit deeper in regards of what kind of markup we can add to our head element. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to set up a meta tag. So if you look at here, we're going to do the greater than sign or less than sign, sorry, and the word meta. And then here we're going to add some information to it. This is a self-closing tag, so we don't need to add a closing tag just like we did with HTML head or body. So this will be able to close by itself. This tag called meta holds information that is important. So it's the metadata that we can provide to the browser so that it can render information or find information. Same thing is very useful for search engines, other type of files or browsers that would access this file. So what we're going to do here is the first meta tag that we're going to use is going to be the char set, and we're going to determine that to be UTF-8. What this does, it lets the browser know what type of characters it can read and understand. UTF-8 is one of the most widely used ones, especially if you live in the United States or most countries. It has all the characters that you will need so that the browser displays properly. If you are developing or you're watching this tutorial in a different country outside of the United States, it's good for you to maybe look online and Google what UTF you should be using for your char set based on the region that you're building this in. So for English, Spanish, Portuguese, I believe even Chinese or Mandarin, whatever, most languages, UTF-8 will be everything that you need. Again, this is one of the reasons why we're creating this template, so that we don't have to do this over and over and over again. Okay, so the next tag that we're going to add is going to be another meta tag, and this meta tag we're going to call it viewport. So we're going to give it a name and then viewport. If you notice here, what we've done is that we have added an attribute, and you can see that here. The attribute defines the name of a piece of the document level metadata. So for example, this attribute called name has a value of viewport. So this gives more information as far as what this meta tag is. So this is a viewport meta tag. What we're going to do is we're going to add some content, and here's where we're going to make it responsive. So again, this is another attribute, and we're going to provide it a value. So this is going to be width equals device width, comma, space, initial scale is equals to 1, and then shrink to fit is equals to no. And we're going to close that. So what we're saying here on this meta tag is that we want the viewport tag to have a value of width, which will be the device width, so that it adjusts to the width of the browser on your mobile device. We want the initial scale to be 1, so we don't want it to be either zoomed in or zoomed out. And then we also want to add this code, which is shrink to fit, meaning we don't want the browser to try to shrink the content so that it looks, it will cause it to look very small if it was to say to yes, set to yes. So this is what we're going to do, is to make sure that our website is mobile friendly. Let's go ahead and do something else. If you notice, as I started typing, the IDE started pushing content to the right, so then I cannot see things on the left. I personally like to see everything as I'm working on it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to View, and then we're going to go into Toggle Word Wrap. So that way it toggles to the next line, and that way I know everything that is on that specific line. Here's another benefit for the IDE. You can see that I'm on line 5, and even though it's wrapped to the next line, I can still see all of it, and it still tells me it's only line 5. It hasn't changed lines for me. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add another meta tags for keywords. So we're going to add this attribute and call it keywords. And what this does is very helpful for browsers and for search engines, I'm sorry, so that when they're searching for specific content, like for example, template or HTML or CSS or JavaScript, maybe tutorial, these words will help the search engine know this page might be what you're looking for and help kind of nudge a little bit the search engines to know this is the kind of information that this website is going to hold. Okay, now these keywords should be used very specifically to the page that we're working on. So for example, if this page was about cars, then we wouldn't have template, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and tutorials. We'll have something about cars. But say for example, very specifically, this page is about the Ford F-150. Right? So then here we can be more specific with our keywords and say something like Ford, F-150, truck, best truck, or something along the lines of that in regards of your keywords. In this case, I'm going to revert back to what we had, but just wanted to explain that for you. Again, keywords, very important, especially for search engines as they're looking for content. Now, let me also stop real quick. So if you wanted to make a website and add as many keywords as you want, and in the erroneous thought that adding more keywords will make your page or your site more attractive and will display more content for the search engines, that's incorrect. What search engines does is that they look at these keywords first, and then it hopes to find the same keywords that you have here in your body content, either in paragraphs, headings, links, or whatnot, things that will help know that these keywords are actually properly being used and associated to your body content. If you were to have keywords on your page, and these keywords right here did not appear on your body content, then it would actually diminish, or it will bump back your page in search engine results. So these keyword tags is important for you to know, but I know that new developers may not necessarily want to use it because Google, for example, uses the content inside of the body tag to be more important than the keywords themselves. But again, I want to teach you as much as I know, as much as I can give you, so that you at least know what those tags are for. So the next tag that we're going to use is we're going to use the meta description. So the meta description is, if you go to Google and you type in something, for example, like HTML5, and then you have a result with a link to it, and then it has a little description right below it, this is where Google gets that description from. You could potentially not have that description in place, and then Google will look at the page content to provide that description on the search engine itself. However, if you want to be more specific and maybe more succinct and more targeted as far as your description, this is where you would go in and add it. Ideally, your descriptions should be between maybe 50 to 60 characters. Keep it very brief so that way it renders fully on your search engines, and you don't get those dot. So here we're going to add a content, and we're just going to say something about this is a tutorial for how to create a basic HTML, CSS, and JavaScript website. Again, these two very important, especially for search engine optimization. You could also have other ones. So for example, if maybe you have different documents, you have articles that you would like to publish, or you're doing maybe an article based website, and there's several people that are writing these articles. So then you can actually create a meta tag called author. And these, you can actually provide the name of the author who created these or this page. You could also do it based on maybe the site page, maybe the website. So for example, maybe like Code Tech Talk created this website. That's the author. So you could do that as well. Again, this is extra information that you could use in here. So these are meta tags. You will not see these meta tags render on your site in the content of the site, but you will see it, for example, you'll see this being used for how the browser reacts and renders content, how search engines read that information and display that information for the people that are looking for this type of information. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add the title tag. If you notice, this is not a self-closing tag. It is required for you to have an opening and a closing tag for this specific tag. So what the title tag is, let's go ahead and call this one Building a Basic Website from Scratch Template. What this does, this is going to be the tag that you're going to use or you're going to see on a browser. So let me go ahead and minimize here. And I went ahead and opened up the folder that we have all our content in. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to go ahead and open it with Firefox. And you can see that we have now a page loading on the site. You'll see that we have this name up here saying Building a Basic Website from Scratch Template. Let's go in and let's go ahead and open up Visual Studio once again. And let's change that to something like Basic Template. As soon as we save this and we go back to the browser and we refresh this page, you'll see that the tag on the top or the title of this page has changed. So for example, you can see it on the tab as well. Usually what we do is that we create, for example, this basic template, and then we'll say maybe who created it. So for example, maybe Code Tech Talk, maybe that's the name of the company that created it, right? So then you can, when you refresh the site, you'll have basic template. If, for example, it was the home page, this is the home page, maybe we'll have home page, right? And then we'll have the browser tells that's the home page, the About Us page, and that's where we make those changes so that you can see that on the browser. And that's specifically useful not only for the page itself, for search engines, but it also helps people that save pages as bookmarks. That way they know, okay, this is the About Us page for Code Tech Talk. In our case, we're just going to go ahead and revert that back to template, and I'm going to keep it this way so that we remember it's a good idea to always add the name of the company, or if this is for your personal blog, maybe you will add your name in here. So let's go ahead, and the next tag that we're going to use is going to be the link tag. If you notice, this is a self-closing tag. Let's go ahead and give it a little bit more space and scroll down a little bit more. What this does is that this helps us link our CSS that we haven't created yet into this document here so that we know, okay, this is our HTML. However, we need to pull our CSS and we need to import it into this document so that we can make our changes and add styles to the page. So let's go ahead and add that. So what we need to do here is we're going to add another value here. So we're going to call it REL, the relationship, which is a style sheet. And then here we're going to add href, or the reference for the link, and see it in Visual Studio automatically gives us a folder structure. You see that? So here we can type in CSS / We haven't created it yet, so but we're still gonna go ahead and add it, and we're just gonna call it style.css. Okay. And that's all we need. This is how we're going to be styling or adding styles into our page. Once we actually go in and creating some styles, then we'll talk a little bit more about this. So just know that we've already created this or assigned or linked our style sheet into our HTML. It's just not yet created. Once we go into CSS, we'll create it. I'll teach you a lot other things that we need to do here. All right. And that's it. These are the most basic head tags that you would use every time that you create a new page. Again, now you can see why we wanted to go ahead and create this as a template so that we can reuse it and not have to type this over and over and over again. So if you have questions about this, let me know. In the next video, we're going to move on to our body tag, and we're going to create some structure in our body or in the body of our HTML page. And then we're going to start maybe adding some tags or some content to it so that we can start seeing how it will look. So see you in the next video.